Joining us today on your drought alert is Julian, a fire mitigation specialist with Colorado State Forest Service. Welcome, Chad.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, Chad, drought is just one of many factors that can affect wildfire behavior. How does drought impact the way wildfires start and spread?
Well, Colorado tends to be dry a lot of the time, but there are periods when we're drier. And when we get into those drier periods, it dries out the dead fuels and the live fuels that are green. The dead fuels are a metric that help us understand when we get into windows of increased fire activity by different moisture measurements in those. The green vegetation gets more stressed when we're in drought, and then it's more receptive to burning even though it's green. So in the drought years, we get more widespread fire, and the fires that then do occur tend to grow bigger because the fuels are drier and allow it, and the warmer temps usually are associated with the drought.
Now, regardless of drought and hot temperatures, wind is also a major factor when it comes to wildfire behavior. How much can wind change the fire threat?
So wind can have an effect on fire behavior that's 400 times that of what temperature will have and 200 times of that of what relative humidity will have. So it's a very big driver. And for folks who live along the Front Range of Colorado, you know that we have a wind season here in the wintertime from September to May. That aligns when our grasses are dry and cured already every year annually anyway. So when that alignment happens, it creates the conditions like a marshal. And that happens every winter here, where we can burn fires from the forest through into the grassland and into the urban areas on high wind events. That's not generally drought related, that's an annual risk there. But when you look at the drought related impacts, all the fires we saw in late June, those were related to low fuel moistures, warm temps, the dry winter we had, and wind in those instances. If you look at what happened in late June, all the fire growth and spread on those fires in Utah and Colorado happened during that week where we had all the wind. When the wind quit, the temperatures warmed, it was warmer and drier, but those fires didn't grow and spread like that.
Now, real quick, with the current drought we built and the deficit in precipitation, there's a lot of talk about the super El Nino helping dig us out of the drought this winter. Why might this not be the case?
Well, El Nino is part of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, a teleconnection pattern between the ocean and the continent here. And we have known effects that, based on what's happening in the ocean, we can predict generally that the dice are loaded certain directions for wetness, coolness, dryness, or warmness. And in an El Nino, it tends to be the dice are loaded towards it being a cooling on the Front Range and wetter. And that tends to grow more grass. The La Nina phase tends to have more downslope wind events, warmer temperatures, drought. That's what we were in last winter. In that phase, you tend to burn the grass that grew during the El Nino. So the El Nino grows the grass. The La Nina tends to burn it. It's on a 3 to 7 year life cycle, and that matches with our fire history that we have in the lower foothills. The other piece to note here is part of what drives this risk is our forests are altered in the structure that's out there, the number of trees. And so when you impose drought on an already altered system, and you've imposed homes in it, and you now put drought on it, we're finding ways to then maximize risk and the potential damage that can come from it. Now, for the Super El Nino, again, there's only been 3 of those that are in that category. 2 of them have been wet. 1 of them has been dry. So it's a small sample size to predict how this El Nino will materialize. We hope it's going to be a wetting and cooling, but there's also a potential that it could be a dud. And there's a big deficit we still have to make, 20 to 30 inches in a lot of our forested mountain areas, to try to pull back out of this. So.
Well, here's to hoping for a very wet and very cool winter heading our way. Well, Julian, thanks for being with us this week, and we will see you back here next week for your drought alert.